It's warm in here.
That's what I was going to say. That's why I picked this costume, mate. I don't think I have to wear a t-shirt. Either that or I was going to get like an actual Scooby-Doo onesie.
Fair.
Should have been funny.
You should have done that. You should have done that.
I probably should have. We'll re-record the pod another day.
Yeah. Don't worry about today. It's just a test run.
Yeah, we've got time for those.
It's fifth period. The body's fifth period. Get headphones and hear it. Let me hit that barbico. That barbico. Let me hit that barbico.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fifth Period, the film podcast hosted by two media teachers, where today we are traveling to Spooky Island to solve a mystery. Now, ordinarily, we don't go places with spooky, haunted, forbidden, or creepy in the name.
Right, ironic.
Right, or hydrochloric, but that's for a whole different reason, man. But we thought we would change our rules up a little bit today for the sake of nostalgia. So we're going to do that thing where we put our hands in, throw them up in the air and go, woohoo!
Woohoo?
Woohoo, buddy, woohoo. My name is Mr. Brown, and with me as always is...
Arresto Royland.
Oh man, I hope this doesn't keep up.
No, it's Mr. Boylan. I'm back. And very excited, Mr. Brown. This is bringing to an end our little spooky season calendar on the fifth period.
It is.
And what a way to do it with one of my probably favourite films of all time.
Yeah, I know you've been very, very excited for this one. It's a little weird because we're doing the recording of this post-Halloween,
yes.
But when we watched the film, it was but one day after Halloween. So everyone was still feeling those spooky vibes from the night before.
Spooky vibes were high. A lot of people were talking about what they'd done for their trick-or-treating and costumes they'd done. I think that's one thing that seeing now, like how much trick-or-treating and Halloween has started to become, much more of a permanent fixture in people's, like culture and just I think the zeitgeist, particularly in Australia.
A lot.
Like I remember from when I was a kid, one was trick-or-treating. It wasn't really a big deal around Halloween, but as someone who's always been pretty interested in the, in the spooky and the supernatural, seeing, how much it's embraced. Sort of in 2024 really fills my heart with great joy.
Yeah, I love it. I always, when I was a kid, used to watch stuff on TV and be like, no, I wish we could do
100%,
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I get it. It's an American cultural thing, and it's the sort of stuff where the more we do kind of get exposed to Americanized television and movies, the more people adopt those kinds of traditions.
Yeah, and there's some things that we're adopting from America that maybe could stay over there. But Halloween's...
A love of guns.
That too. But Halloween's definitely not one of those. Just keep bringing on the spooky vibes and long may it continue.
Absolutely. In addition to talking Scooby-Doo today, we will also be chatting Tantalising Trailers and doing our 5 favourite Halloween films of 2024. So if you want to skip ahead to any of that, I will leave time codes in the description below.
Hey, I'm Leo, and today we're going to be talking about Scooby-Doo.
Big thank you to Leo today for your intro to the pod. I hadn't met Leo before, so I always like to, if I haven't met the students, just ask, what are you into in terms of what kind of movies do you watch? He said he's not a big movie goer, but he does watch The Rookie with Nathan Fillion, which is a show that I adore.
Cracker of a show.
Yeah, I'm all up to date with that. I love me some Nathan Fillion. I think it's a really cool show because in terms of like the procedural stuff that they do with all the cops, they try and make it really accurate. I will say that some of the latest seasons have had some very, very silly episodes in regards to doppelgangers. But in terms of the actual police procedures, they try and be as realistic as they possibly can, which I think is a cool detail because it is quite educational as well as you go through it. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool that even though I hadn't met Leo before, we've already got some common interests.
Yes.
So hopefully he'll be making some returns to Film Club in future weeks.
Hope so.
But you've taught Leo.
I did. I taught Leo in Year 7 Media last semester. And yeah, I didn't notice him come into the room at Film Club, and I was just there sitting with Eric, another Year 7 student who I currently teach. And I was like, Leo, how's it going? We hadn't seen him in a while, and so it was really good to see him. Loved having Leo in media in semester 1. Really applied himself to every part of the subject. Was consistently one of my high-performing students. And really had a genuine enthusiasm for his creativity, coming up with some really cool ideas, for his infomercial, and then going through and nailing his trailer and doing quite well on his suspense film as well. So, he's I think he made a really great start to life as a media student. So hopefully get to teach him in further years, and then also as well we get to see him at future film clubs. So Leo, thank you very much for coming along to film club for the first time and jumping straight into do an intro. We loved having you on.
Thanks heaps, Leo. Alrighty, let's get jinky with it.
Let's.
Written by James Gunn.
Yeah.
I've just glossed straight over. It's Raja Gosnell?
Yes.
Gosnell? I've glossed over him because I'm not a huge
Raja
Gosnell fan. I don't know
Clearly.
what else he's done.
Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed.
Is that it?
I don't think so.
And if so, you already know that I'm not a big fan of that anyway. So.
No.
But
I'm a big fan of James Gunn.
James Gunn. I mean, that's a big name to talk about.
He's an absolute
taken
gun.
over. He's an absolute gun. He's taken over for the DC extended universe. So that'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. Very early days. I think James Gunn is responsible for some of my favorite kind of horror comedy writing as well. Have you seen the film Slither?
Yes, I might be talking about it a little bit later. So there you go. Thought it linked in well nicely today. So.
Very much so. So I'm a big James Gunn fan. I think as soon as you find out that he wrote this, you go, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Of course he did. Yeah.
Of course he did. It's that balance of like some very silly comedy, but some also really sophisticated jokes and just fast-paced dialogue, like very witty throughout.
Yeah, you can see like a lot of the DNA for Guardians of the Galaxy very much in this movie. With you talk about the pace at which the dialogue moves, how subtle some of the jokes can be, and which again, this is why I really love this film, because I loved it so much as a kid, because it is a bit of a gateway horror movie, I think, for a lot of people, but also as well, it is one of those kids' movies that you can appreciate as an adult and be like, that completely went over my head when I watched this when I was, 8 or 9 years old. So, yeah.
100%.
But yeah, he's killing it on this.
He is killing it. Should we talk now about what the film was supposed to be originally?
Oh, yeah. So this film was originally not going to be be very appropriate.
No, it was going to have an R rating.
I wasn't going to be seeing it in the movies in 2002, that's for sure.
No. And you and I were just discussing, like, based on what we know about it, we kind of wish we'd gotten this version. I mean, I don't want to give up the version that we're talking about today, because we both really, really enjoy it.
Yep.
But, I mean, we almost want the unreleased copy of the original
Release
cut.
the gun cut.
Release the gun cut, yes. Very dark themes in it. Obviously, we're going to get to some of these themes as we go through it, because as far as I know, a lot of the stuff that was in it was similar to what we got, but it was just significantly watered down in the version that we did. So
a lot of stuff they just sort of infer would have been explicitly in the film.
Yes, namely Shaggy being a full-blown stoner.
Yes.
And
we'll get to that scene in a second.
We absolutely will. And so there are still a lot of references to that sort of stuff, but I think they were also going to play up the idea of them being a little more disillusioned as investigators as well. Just like, we're kind of like young friends who do this thing, but the world is a dark place and now this no longer works for us. And it's like, those themes are all still there, but they don't feel as heavy as they possibly could have been.
Yeah, and even like the sort of, I don't know, particularly the R rating, that would have played into the fact that, you've Scooby-Doo, the original sort of cartoons, it's always, like a man in a mask. And they definitely sort of play with that idea in this film, with it, being actual monsters rather than someone in a mask.
Yeah.
When Velma, like, when tries to rip off one of the monsters' masks, is like, and then the horror on her face is like, oh, this isn't a man in a mask. It's great. But I also like the fact, because, well, even though they didn't do it for this film, it is still an idea that they do in other media properties when Supernatural do their episode with Scooby-Doo. I'm not sure if you've seen this.
I have,
of
yes.
course, yeah, so they end up in the episode, but actually people start dying for real, and the Scooby-Doo characters can't really deal with the fact that like there's blood and gore and stuff like that.
It's funny you say that because when I was thinking about the R rating, all I could think was the Jake Gyllenhaal SNL sketch.
Yeah.
Very, very funny with people's actual faces getting ripped off. And it's gory. It's gory.
People getting shot and stuff like that.
But they're still like zoinks and jinkies. And yeah, it's very, very funny.
That's good. But I think like some of the elements like in this would have been really interesting. The fact that they'd have Velma and Daphne were supposed to have like a side relationship,
which I think is kind of fun too, because it is more of like a parody of the fact that it was heavily inferred that Daphne and Fred had a relationship in the cartoon, and that often when the group split up,
always
they were suggesting that they were going off to like fool around.
Okay, you three investigate the old house while Daphne and I look for clues around here.
Yeah, there's a lot of like really heavy themes in the cartoon, or like suggested themes in the cartoon. So when it was going to be darker, this film was going to really play on that parody a lot more. And I think the fact that it was almost going to be like a secret relationship between the girls would have been like absolutely poking fun at that idea.
Yep.
So we kick things off with the Warner Brothers logo, but it doesn't stick around for very long. A big old bite comes out of it, and we get the so good. That laugh's going to come back a few times today.
See how my voice will go doing it. How many times?
I'll tell you what comes back a few times during the film, though. A different version of the Scooby-Doo theme song.
So true.
So many covers. And the first cover features one, Shaggy. And it's actually called Shaggy, Where Are You?
Shaggy's in the movie.
You can't find him, though. That's why they're constantly asking, where are you?
Where are you, Shaggy?
Oh, dear. But we kick things off with what would appear to be a very traditional Scooby-Doo episode. Ooh,
this is pretty traditional.
Spooky. It's a classic Scooby-Doo episode, and we start in the Toyo Factory.
Yes.
Just the fact that it's called the Toyo Factory.
Isn't it called like the Wow?
Oh, is it Wow?
Wow, I think Wow
I thought
might
it was Toyo. Maybe.
Maybe. We'll see.
Who knows?
For sure.
We haven't done that one in a while.
I know, bringing it back.
Bringing it back.
Bringing it back.
We don't know. For sure.
It's the case of the Lunar Ghost, and very quickly they establish the characters super quickly, and they're all more in their sort of cartoon appropriate outfits.
Yes.
As well.
Yes. And Fred's got his cartoon appropriate hair as well.
Yes.
The big mop top.
Yes, which doesn't look like a fake wig at all.
Well, he actually did dye his hair for this movie, which he didn't do in the second movie.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. He just has this mop all throughout the second film. But it's a really good intro because if you are familiar with the cartoon, it's got those nostalgia vibes. You're like, oh, here we go. A classic Scooby-Doo adventure. But if you don't know the cartoon, it's a really quick way of establishing what each of their roles are within the group. So you've got Fred like being the cool talking guy on the walkie-talkie things. And he's like flicking the rope around and stuff.
Checking himself out in the mirror.
Exactly right. So a lot of that is established. We get that Velma's like the intelligent one. She's kind of
the brains behind the operation.
Exactly right. Daphne's the damsel in distress. She's already been kidnapped.
Yep.
And Shaggy and Scooby are the goofballs.
Yep, they're hiding out in a barrel.
That's it. The Stony Baloney goofballs.
Yeah. So like Velma's sort of, articulating the plan to Fred, make sure everything is going to go okay, and it very quickly doesn't. The Lunar Ghost sets the barrel on fire, and Scooby jumps out.
That like fire blowing, and with the Lunar Ghost laugh too, it's all great.
It's pretty creepy, like straight off the bat. Like, I'll be the first to acknowledge that I found this movie like quite scary as a kid. Like,
it's got some creepy stuff in it for sure.
But the oil to come off the conveyor belt, it'll, the ghost won't be able to move, and then they'll spray him and it'll be knocked out and it'll be all, game over.
Yeah, it's such a staple of these things to have such elaborate plans, and then none of it works out. And we see this happen at the end of the film as well, and then they just fluke their way into solving the problems.
Always.
I love the look of the ghost. I love the look of Scooby too. Like, this movie has some pretty janky CGI, and we'll get to that a little bit later on with the monsters, but...
Scooby-Doo doesn't.
No, he looks great, and also, even though, like, he obviously looks removed from the world, this is a very cartoony vibe that the film is giving off thematically anyway, so it works, I think.
One of the reasons why I think it works so well is, who else pops out of the barrel is Matthew Lillard as Shaggy, who
A fan favorite amongst us.
Yeah, like he's just the best. Like I really love Matthew Lillard, and being part of like two pretty big franchises for me now at different phases of my life, and getting into horror basically. He got this role off the back of his performance in 13 Ghosts, which is very Shaggy-like, with how sort of crazy he gets. So you can definitely see the through line between Stu Marker, his character in 13 Ghosts, and Shaggy Rogers. So
Wait, no! What are you doing? What did I just say? Did I just say there's a petting zoo downstairs? No! There are ghosts downstairs, Arthur. Right.
He's really committing to the role, but he's also so good at acting opposite effectively nothing.
Well, this might be, that was one of my notes, is like the fact that he does a really good job in making you believe that Scooby's really there.
100%.
And we've seen so many times that actors do a really average job basically acting across a CGI character, and they really and it's not an easy thing to do, to communicate with a bunch of tennis balls as your scene partner.
Not even that for this one. In terms of eye lines and stuff, he didn't even have those sorts of things. He's just winging it, and then they just animate around him, and it's incredible.
He does it well.
It's definitely one of the challenges in this film.
It's just so good. And then they try to escape, which they can't. Then Fred tries to spray the ghost.
Ends up getting
Velma, who's tangled up in the chains.
It's a big disaster, but they do, by accident, manage to kind of get the ghost, fluke it because of the skateboard.
With the quintessential 2002 skateboard scene.
That's it. You love it.
You couldn't do a film in this era of time without one skateboard scene.
Well, I would say that the Amazing Spider-Man skateboard scene probably was a little bit late to the party.
And turning Peter Parker.
Were a little bit over skateboarding at that stage.
No, they were ready to say, "See you later, boy."
Nice, very good. Bit of Avril.
Alrighty.
So yeah, as I said, they kind of fluke their way into capturing the ghost and do the classic reveal of it just being a man in the mask
with Pamela Anderson.
It's Old Man Smithers, and his whole plan was. So this is what I could gather. Pamela Anderson has some sort of deal with the Wow-O factory to have an action figure made for her, and Old Man Smithers wanted to derail that plan because he's hurt he's a
spurned lover.
Yes, exactly right. That she rejected his many advances,
despite
even though. You say it.
I can't remember the whole quote. So
he says that he is a lover of George Clooney.
I'm a lover boy of George Clooney in proportions. And she gives him a look. It's like,
nah, mate. Nah, Smithers.
You're not Clooney man.
He's not a Clooney man. Did you know that originally Old Man Smithers was going to be the main villain as well? He was going to come back. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't mind it.
Could have been fun.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of
Old Man Smithers.
Well, no, I'm not a huge fan of the Scrappy-Doo line anyway.
Not really. There's only one time where the Scrappy-Doo character is funny, but we'll get there. But yeah, Old Man Smithers. I mean, it would have been really like good for the movie and stuff. Also would have been, if they were going with like the original like R-cut and stuff like that, and it turns out Old Man Smithers comes back and is legitimately killing people. I was like, that works 100%.
We also get the classic line, I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids.
And that damn dog. We do.
And everyone's like, and
everyone celebrates. Yay! All the fans are there.
Woo! Just the fans of the TV show Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, they are in real life. They're here.
But there's a bit of dissension in the ranks because once again, Fred steals the spotlight, even though it was Velma's brilliant plan, which I don't know that we should be giving her too much credit because it's not even her plan that saves the day. They just fluke saving the day. I feel Shaggy and Scooby are not getting the credit they deserve at the end there.
Always. But they don't really care. So
that's true. That's very true. So yeah, they end up having a bit of an argument, and I love Fred saying, "Hey, watch the ascot." He's very, very worried about
very protective of the ascot.
But Yeah, Shaggy kind of gives this big speech. He describes them as a banana split.
With
and-
all the weird toppings.
oh yeah, I love it. I
with
love
the
it.
spicy mustard on top.
And even he describes, he's like, and I know I'm just the guy that carries the bags, but I
Very
think it's a very
self-deprecating.
inspirational speech. And unfortunately, though, he's put everything into perspective.
He's like, Velma's like, you're right, Shaggy. I quit.
I quit, and they all literally go off in their different directions.
Leaving,
And he's so
Shaggy and stuff.
sad.
He is. Please don't go.
Aw.
He, like, again, Matthew Lillard, killing it.
Killing it. Makes you feel very sympathetic for such a silly idea.
Yeah, it's very quickly like the fact that they establish that these characters are together and it's like, okay, now they're broken up, which is kind of why like a lot of people say that Scooby-Doo 2 should have been the first movie.
Agreed.
And this could have been the sequel.
100%, because Scooby-Doo 2, and let's just talk about it for a little bit now.
Your favorite of the Scooby-Doos.
I think it is a significant step down. James Gunn, writer of both, prefers the second one. I'm not 100% sure where you lie on it. I know you like the second one.
I do like the
but
second
you still
one.
think the first is better?
I think so. There's elements of the second one I really like. I like all the different monsters and the callbacks to the TV show and stuff with, like Minor 49er and like the deep sea diving ghost and all these sort of things. I like that sort of concept with like bringing the monsters to life. I also like the club scene where Scooby's got an afro and dancing and stuff. I think that's great.
I feel the second one seems like it's aimed at a younger audience.
The tone is very much a tonal shift.
Yeah, it feels a lot lighter, and maybe that's because when this one was being created, they had that darker one in mind, and then when they kind of refound their balance, James Gunn went into the second one with a lighter tone in mind, and therefore the whole movie seems lighter as a result. But I also think the jokes aren't as sophisticated. Like, there is a joke, and we'll get to it later on in this film, where I'm like, that doesn't land for me. And I feel like that happens a lot more often in the sequel.
Okay.
But again, why it would have worked as the first film, because you're establishing it in the world that's a lot more like the TV show.
Yes.
And then this one becomes the one where they kind of snap into reality a little bit more. And to me, it feels like the difference between like the Brady Bunch TV show versus the Brady Bunch movie, where they're in a modern setting, but they all still act like they're in the 60s and the 70s. And everyone else is like, what is wrong with this family? Like, it's a very funny parody, the movie.
That should have been a horror movie.
Yeah, right?
That would have been good.
I would have loved it.
Jan! Oh, Jan! Don't listen to her.
In this day and age, if you're lucky enough to
It's me, the new Jan Brady. Let's knock over a 7-Eleven. Stop.
So yeah, I do really want to rewatch the second one, but I've done that before after someone has been like, no, it's good. You got to go back to it. And I've rewatched it and been like, I still
You were
don't think
wrong.
it's that great. But it's been enough time between drinks, so to speak, so I should return to the Scooby-Doo well and see what I can make of it now.
Scooby-Doo 2, Mr. Brown Unleashed. There
That's
you
it.
go.
That's it. Anyway, 2 years later, and we get our very obvious stoner reference.
Pass the Dutchie around the left-hand side.
Yeah, we got the smoke coming from the van, which again used to happen all the time in the animated show. And then you even get him saying,
Man, talk about toasted.
very good.
Even before he's toasting buns and then making burgers. Because
The only thing better than an eggplant burger.
is a chocolate-covered eggplant burger
Burger.
with hot sauce. Ra-cha-cha-cha. Love it.
They're looking to just hang out, chill, but they get an old knock at the van door.
They do. And then, quick Scoobo, let's grab the Fudo and scramble. Oh.
So it's a guy that is coming on behalf of Rowan Atkinson.
Emil
Mondavarius. I was going to say one of the other variations.
We'll get
of it.
there.
We'll get there. But
Slow down, Fred. I
he's-
know you're keen to mispronounce his name.
Yeah, I am. With the most confidence you've ever seen from a person. So he wants to recruit them to come to the island for a mystery. And as we said in the intro, they're hesitant because it's titled Spooky Island.
Oh, we don't go near any place with spooky, haunted, forbidden, or creepy in the name.
Well, hydrochloric.
Right, or hydroclonic, but that's for a whole different reason, man.
That's a no-go for them. But as soon as free food is offered to them,
They're
like,
in.
Let's do it.
Scooby passes out at the mere thought.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're off to the airport, but they're not the only ones that have been recruited to come to Spooky Island.
No.
The band's back together.
Yes, Fred and Velma bump into each other pretty quickly. And they ask each other sort of like what they've been
been up to for the last 2
And Fred's
years.
like, I've been on the lecture circuit promoting my new book, Fred on Fred, The Many Faces of Me. Velma's like, geez, that's impressive. And he genuinely takes it serious. He's like, oh, yeah, thanks. And then immediately sort of like fires back. It's like, oh, what are you doing? It's like, oh, yeah, I'm working on
NASA.
With NASA working on like hydro-powered rockets. And he's like, damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you think she's being sarcastic when she says that's impressive? I feel like she's genuinely thinks it's impressive. Because later on in the film, you can see that she does have an admiration for Fred. Like she talks about like how charming he is and like I think in this moment she's not like, oh, that's impressive. She's more like, oh wow, that is impressive. Not knowing that what she's done is also so much better.
As in,
She's got like the self-confidence issues.
She's got a lot of imposter syndrome, Velma.
Jinkies, that's impressive.
Another thing that has changed in 2 years, their outfits. Ever
Yes.
so slightly.
The shorter hair.
They now just wear jackets over their outfits from the opening scene.
I was going to say, Velma's doesn't change that much. I feel like Fred's changes probably the most.
He has variations throughout the film, but at this port,
At this port of the air.
yeah, the port where they dock the planes. He's wearing literally his classic Fred outfit, but he has the blue jacket over the top
And shorter hair.
Yes, and shorter hair. But Velma's doing the same thing. She's got an orange sweater on.
The classic turtleneck.
Yeah, I love later on when the guy gives her a drink. He's like, "Nice sweater."
Nice cardigan.
And then we see Daphne wearing her classic ensemble, but she's got like the pink trench coat over the top as well.
She seems like she's got less green on, I think.
Doesn't have a classic scarf?
It doesn't look like she's got the scarf. It's a bit more of the pinky purple vibes.
Because she is less green now. She's been in training.
Oh yeah, because she's got all.
She's a black belt now.
Wasasa.
Wasasa, she says.
That's what she
Very good.
Guess I should be worried.
transform my body into a dangerous weapon, working on the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Which she was working on simultaneously while shooting this.
That's pretty cool. So,
yeah, she did like 1 week on, 1 week off, or 1 week on, but just alternating what was on.
Yeah, because they were having to film, because Scooby got filmed in Gold Coast.
It sure did, yeah. That's why we get one of McLeod's daughters making an appearance, and Isla Fisher as well, a couple of Australian stars.
That's true. One thing Raja Gosnell really wanted for the parts of Fred and Daphne was casting a real life couple. Mm-hmm. And Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar were his first choice. Gellar was very, very keen, straight up. Freddie Prinze Jr., let's say.
Yeah, he was worried he wouldn't do the character justice.
Yes.
Which he's dead wrong because he's awesome.
He is Fred.
They are all awesome in these roles. It is perfect casting all around.
Yep.
But one thing, with their relationship, so they met back on, you only just asked me this, it was I Know What You Did Last Summer. That's when they met, but they were friends for a few years. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's early 2000s they got together, and then this was 2003 or two.
Yep.
So they hadn't been together all that long, but I think it really works because like you can clearly see even in this scene when he sees her, the Riz, my God.
Freddie Riz Jr.
That's what they call him.
Putting the Riz in Prinz.
Riz
Jr.
Freddie
Riz Jr.
There it is. We got there.
That's the one.
Oh, dear. But in addition to all of them, who else is there?
Grandma
Scooby. The needle drops in this film.
But it's like Brick House, but remixed as well, with some other stuff on top. Because it couldn't be 2000s music without a bit of a remix.
I love a remix.
A classic one, but...
they don't allow big dogs on the plane.
And then Velma's like, I think Daphne's like, no one's stupid enough to believe that. And then they immediately
Who's
cut
the
to
ugly
Fred.
broad?
Yeah, and just a classic. They always find a way to poke fun at Fred's lack of intelligence a number of times. But yeah, they get back on the. Well, they haven't. They're
They
not
get
back
back on the plane.
Well, they're not. They're not on the plane yet. They're about to, sort of cast off at the port, and Shaggy's like, oh, this is fate. Like, we're going to get back together. We're going to throw our hands in the middle and throw them up and go, woo! And Velma's like, oh, Daphne says no. Fred's like, people are watching Shag. Like, doesn't want to do it in front of the people. And Velma sort of looks at Shaggy and be like, sorry, man.
Yeah.
And then
Scoob says, Ruhu.
Ruhu. He's like, yeah, buddy, Ruhu. Let's go. And they get on the plane.
They're on the plane.
They get a nice needle drop of Grow Up by Simple Plan.
Oh,
just in case you didn't know it was a 2002 film.
Oh, we will know in a minute when we get that spiky haircut.
Oh, some of the, like just what people are wearing on this plane is like, and I'll tell you what they're not wearing, seatbelts.
I know, right?
No one
got a tiki bar just in the middle of the plane there.
What kind of plane is this?
I don't know. I love.
Where are they flying?
Well, they're in the middle of flying, right?
Yeah.
And Mary Jane then is walking down the aisle.
Yeah, I know.
What was she doing for the first part?
Flying the plane.
They just picked her up at the next port. So
that's how planes work.
Isla Fisher comes in, a bit of a romantic interest for Shaggy.
Slow-mo entrance, completely infatuated, while missing Scooby literally inhaling his sandwich, which looks great.
Mm-hmm. He's got the munchies.
He's got the munchies. And
she introduces herself as Mary Jane. That's like my favorite name.
The pause as well when he's like,
so
weed.
Also, they're both eating dog treats. What a bunch of weirdos.
Oh yeah, but even before that, like, because they work out that she's allergic to dogs, and she still doesn't know the fact that it's Scooby as well. And it's like, and then Shaggy's like, oh wait, no, it just must be my grandma's perfume. Even sometimes I get achoo. Bless me.
The little like giggle he does afterwards. So good.
Adorable,
So Scooby goes and visits.
It's like, actually, I think Grandma wanted to have a chat with her old pal Velma, huh? It's just like, get out of my way. I'm trying to rizz up this girl, man. And then he's like, and this is probably the Scooby-Doo quote that I use the most. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just okay. Just like the resigned sort of, I'm a let you wish. That's fine.
That's fair. And when he does go back, he gets a little arced up by the fact that there's a cat on board.
A kit.
I love this when Fred tries to demonstrate that he knows all about pet control, and all you got to do is give him a flick on the nose.
Observe. Hey, Scoob.
And he's just like...
with a big sound effect of like the punch.
So good. And then starts chasing the cat. And we see an outside shot of the plane, and it's like swerving. And that's not how a plane works.
Well, they crashed, and the rest of the movie is a dream sequence. And they wake up, and they actually are on the spookiest island of all. And just a deserted island.
From Lost.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's the connection.
So spooky. Speaking of the island, that establishing shot, it looks so fun. I want to go to Spooky Island.
Oh yeah, that's why I wish it was like more of a section at Warner Brothers Movie World, Hollywood on the Gold Coast. But they do have the Spooky Coaster. Mm-hmm. I'm going to Queensland as well early next year.
Nice.
But apparently this ride is getting maintenance, so I'm not sure if it's going to open back up in time.
I went on it last time I was there. I'll tell you, mate, it hurts. You were saying you have a bad back.
It's quite jarring,
your
apparently.
Back really badly.
With the backwards...
Yeah, and just like quite a solid like back bar. Anyway, so maybe it's good that it won't be there.
Maybe. We'll talk about roller coasters another time.
Okay. But we get introduced to, and this is the thing, like ordinarily when Rowan Atkinson comes into a film, even in a minor role, something like Love Actually, he steals the show. But it's like this film is packed full of talented cast members.
Who are all being quite zany too.
Exactly right. So it's like he can't really steal the show, but boy, does he get close.
It fits in seamlessly.
It's amazing. Like, I love him behind the tiki puppet thing, waving his arm and like smacking people as they go by.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's so good.
The way they also do a couple of plays on Disney rides as well.
Oh yeah.
With a it's a spooky world, or it's a terrifying world after all, instead of if it's a small world. And then they call, instead of Matterhorn, they've got a Spiderhorn ride and stuff. So I thought that was quite good. Like I said,
good.
I like my theme park stuff.
I like that Daphne's worried about having to carry her own bags and Rowan Atkinson's like,
the beauty
that's
of it.
what Spooky Island is all about. Realizing your fears.
Your greatest fears, because there's no greater fear for
Than
Daphne
carrying
than
your own bags.
Exactly.
But nothing is as good as his line where he goes, oh, I can be pretty spooky. Oh, yes.
Sounds like Jeff Goldblum.
Run into me in a dark alley.
Yeah. Yeah. Big raw XD energy from Rowan Atkinson, that's for sure.
Claws and everything. Oh, yes, you wouldn't want to run into me in a dark alley.
Rowan Atkinson.
Rowan Atkinson.
Nice.
So
nice.
he's hired them because he's worried that somebody is brainwashing the teens.
Someone's casting a spell.
They're acting too civilized.
Yes.
They're not crazy and partying all the time.
Yeah, because they said like it's like they're just like sober, well-behaved college students. Like that's the problem.
Exactly right. And we meet Carol,
Michaela Banis,
McLeod's daughter.
McLeod's own daughter.
McLeod's favorite daughter. She picks up her boyfriend who's got the spiky hair.
Not her boyfriend.
Oh, just someone who knows it.
Yeah, it's like we've known each other since we were 3 years old or something like that.
Right. But he's got those like individually spiked tips in his hair.
2000s, bro.
Yeah, but James Gunn used to have this haircut.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So I found that hilarious. And so they're like, well, obviously something's wrong.
And Rowan Atkinson's like, I'm terrified.
But he's also just so excited to see them. He's like a big fan of them.
He is a big Mystery Inc. Mystery Incorporated.
Why wouldn't he be? Especially if they were being played by all these actors.
Exactly right. They're basically like welcoming them with a special event. Ruka-Palooza? And immediately cut to said Ruka-Palooza.
Being like, any weirdos running around?
Anything strange? No.
And then they all come out and do the tribal
And he
dance.
disappears.
So good.
Yeah, this is what the creatures say.
Yeah, what's the rest of the chants?
And Fred, we'll get there eventually.
Crumpin'.
But yeah, I love Stephen Grimes is like the sort of the secondary antagonist. No go down. He's so much fun. He's just like you talk about people stealing scenes. He's just like he knows what movie he's in and how much he needs to give this movie. The
theatrics of him like putting on the show of like there are monsters on the island and spooky and they do and it's like, does that scare you? And she's like, it would if it weren't for the holographic projectors here,
and here. And he's like, what a smart little one. And then just like,
on the head.
And she's like, ow. And then we have the character who's standing next to her in the Led Zeppelin shirt, who she talks to multiple times in the movie, and then it's like at the end of the film, like, are they dating?
Yeah,
it's really weird.
Everyone has to be paired off at the end of the movie, so they just introduce a love interest.
So they can go,
woohoo! But we get your favorite cameo.
Oh.
So there's a phone call at the tiki bar. And
got a phone call for a Mr. Do, and then Melvin Do just pops out of nowhere.
No, Scooby.
And then Scooby basically gets lured into the forest with the promise of a great big bag of hamburgers.
Just walk into the dark part of the forest
where
nobody can see you.
Okay. And immediately shoots off. And that's fine because Shaggy doesn't know where he is because he's locked on.
He's busy flirting.
He's busy risen up Mary Jane.
And so I said, you don't need to know what Voulez-vous coucher à la means to love that song.
It's so good.
Man.
And then immediately, wins the shrunken head at the crane game. And she's like, no one's ever given me a stuffed head before.
She's killing it in this.
Isla Fisher was supposed, or she wasn't supposed to. She went up for the role of Daphne.
Did she really?
And apparently she crushed her audition that much as like, we need to get her in the movie
so
somehow.
So they wrote in the part?
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that a lot.
Love Isla Fisher.
So we cut to Daphne, who is going to like the voodoo sacrifice guy on the beach.
He's great.
He's a lot of fun.
Excuse me?
Dang it! What are you doing? Now I have to start the voodoo ritual all over again.
Voodoo ritual?
Yes, voodoo ritual. I was about to sacrifice this chicken.
That chicken's already dead. He's like, I know the chicken's dead, smart little girl. What, did the fact that it didn't have a head tip you off? He's just so sarcastic. Like, because he's often doing these rituals, but then he just like snaps out of it and is like the most realistic and logical person in the room.
Yeah, he's like one of the, like, he's like a character actor, like at Disneyland, who keeps breaking character.
It's so good.
Which is
it's so good.
very, very funny. And it's like,
he also shames her for wearing purple clothing at that time of year.
yeah.
Purple is a fall color. It's the middle of May.
And then basically says, do not go into that that spooky island castle. And it's like, and then it's just the sort of the reverse psychology of the reverse psychology.
He doesn't do anything to try and reverse psychology.
What?
She has an argument with herself, essentially.
Yeah, and he's like, what in the world? It's like, can she leave, please? I now want her to go to the spooky castle so we can get rid of her.
Get rid of her. What is she saying? And,
no, that's what he says to her when she rocks up. What are you wearing
at this time of year? So we cut back to Scooby going into the forest, and he gets attacked by a monster. I do like that it's just like hamburgers pointing to the bag. So good. And this is a good little sequence,
little
like the chase
scene,
through. Yeah. He's climbing up the tree.
I like it when he keeps pulling the bag down and the monster pulls it off and he's like, no.
He's like, I don't want to face you.
And he's like, no.
He's adorable. We love Scoobs.
He's just great. But yeah, running through, like sort of jumping onto the tree, and then eventually it just catapults onto the roller coaster car. And then even the monster's like, ah!
And he comes running back to Shaggy, and he's
like, Monster! And then here comes the most terrifying character in the movie, the big pink bunny. So stupid!
What was he doing in the forest?
What was the big bunny there? He was looking for free hamburgers too.
That was it. Oh my gosh. Daphne comes and recruits Shaggy and Scooby to come with her to the castle. The exterior of the castle literally just looks like a flat. Not even like multiple layers of flat. Literally just one board.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Here's the castle.
Oh, it's amazing.
So they're not keen, but basically lures Scooby in with the promise of a Scooby snack.
Well, you know all the reasons he says he doesn't like going into castles. He's like, paintings where the eyes are watching you, and suits of armor that follow you.
They're like all old episodes.
It's the very first episode.
I did see that in the trip.
Which is very, very cool. But they do eventually go in, and even though the exterior looks a little lackluster, the interior is great.
Oh my god, yes.
I love this set.
And I watched it like, this could be a really good roller coaster ride. And it is.
Yeah, it is.
But it just looks awesome. Like it's... I just love set design like this. It just completely plunges you into the world.
I mean, the only thing that's missing is a mindless zombie.
Don't worry, there's one about to walk through the door.
Fred
so good. Great gag.
Good writing. Velma is also there, so they've all been very like-minded going to the castle. And it kind of speaks to the fact that they all have very different methods, but it gets them to the same point anyway.
Yeah. It shows that they're all sort of very much capable paranormal investigators, I guess. So.
And I love the line, since we're all together now, let's split up.
Let's do our traditional thing. It's like, I'll go with Daphne, and Velma cuts him off as like, nah. This always happens. Mm-hmm. Let's basically do it differently. So
again, a reference to them going off to spend a little quality time together.
Quality time. So no, Fred pairs off with Velma this time. Mm-hmm. Daphne goes by herself, and then Scooby and Shaggy. You do what you do best. And then I love, Fred and Velma sort of walking through, and Velma's like,
all you care about is swimsuit models.
It's like, hey, look, I'm a man of substance. Dorky chicks like you turn me on too. And he's just like, and then gives her like a really aggressive back pat as well.
And then walks on, and
he's just like, what? You moron.
Yeah. We see the little henchman here, who it's also the only time we see him in the film.
Yep.
He turns on the ride, and then that's it.
all, we see him a little bits in this sequence. But
In
outside of this
but-
sequence,
yeah.
never again.
It's odd. It's very odd. But he turns on the ride, and Shaggy and Scooby get like stuck to the food on the wall.
Yeah, so then like, this
all,
big
like,
dining
plastic
hall and stuff.
paper mache.
And now for the main course, you. And there's actual monsters coming out of the wall. This scene confuses the heck out of me because it's like, are there actual creatures? Is part of it plastic? Is it all plastic?
Oh, I just thought it was all plastic.
Well, but some of it looks like legitimately like a real monster in there, like the one that sort of gets close to their face and stuff.
Oh.
But it might not be.
I
Like,
thought it
don't
was
know.
just like part of the ride.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Who knows?
For sure.
I like too that Daphne kicks the door right as the ride is being turned on, and she thinks she's done it, and then gets like swept up with the. And Fred and Velma in the cool room with the blades swinging. Very,
Looks
very cool.
sick.
I would love to do that as a ride.
I think it is in the ride at
It's not.
No?
Oh, look, if it is, I don't remember the ride very well.
And it's a bit dangerous to put that in the ride. So.
Nah, if they were made out of foam and you just got to like run through them.
Yeah, or if it's just the car is on a perfect sequence going through and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That would be fine. Fred
Gets yeeted through the window.
Thankfully, Velma tosses him a book, otherwise he'd be dead.
Boom.
And then he knocks the guy over as well as the switch, because then it saves not only Shaggy and Scooby, but also Daphne from getting impaled at the end.
On the spikes.
Very big safety hazard there. Yeah.
Wow, that's why the ride's under construction.
I mean, probably fair, because, I mean, yeah, this ride would have killed people.
Absolutely.
Just straight up.
So they find a video, and it's almost like a training video for how young people should act.
Yeah, accidentally bumps into the guy, and it's, I will crush your bones into dust.
Yeah, and it's like, here's how he should have responded. No big whoop, dog.
Oh, yeah, but-
Did you catch the vid on the box? I'm up to swizzle with all the new popular trends.
I'm up with the sniz snuff.
Oh, the sniz snuff.
The sniz snuff, yeah.
Oh, swizzle must be later.
No, that's okay, my bro. No problem, homie.
Word. But
as
we
I
found
say,
this
yeah.
very, very amusing. Bit of a trend of us to be up with the kids' lingo.
Yes, as the lady does say in the training video, remember, today's young people have a language all their own. And I was like, no cap. That's bussin'.
Dap me up, my ephemeral bro, they say.
That is what they say. Ding. That's just the end of the training video. And the guy just goes,
Ding.
nah, he just goes, skibbity. Ding.
Very good.
No problems, my Sigma.
Very good.
Phantom tax, my dog. Oh, dearie.
I thought the video was over. He just keeps turning the camera back on to say more expressions.
Exactly. But, the video's over, but the clues keep getting found because Daphne finds,
the Damon Ritus.
Yes, our MacGuffin of the film, and it is the Damon Ritus. Escapes the... I love like the pyramid and stuff in there. It looks really cool.
Yeah,
that
cutting
room.
it close. Jeez.
Yeah, then she turns to the camera. Oh, why do we always cut these things so
so
damn close? Am I getting it right, Michael J. Fox?
He's behind the Damon Ritus.
He's an additional help on this movie with James Gunn.
James Gunn's doing his hair into little spikes.
Oh, yes.
All right.
But
So,
anyway,
speaking of James Gunn and writing, this is the scene that falls flat for me.
I thought this might have been what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It doesn't fall super. I mean, because I'm referencing when I watched this in the movie theater, I had a great time with this scene.
Oh, you did?
Because I was 8 years old watching this. This
Yeah,
would be
right.
hilarious for an 8-year-old.
And it's hard for me to remember my reaction to it then, because I think this is a film that actually has aged fairly well for me in terms of my enjoyment of the comedy elements in it.
Yeah.
I can't really remember what I would have appreciated about it most when I was a kid. So look, I
Right.
probably did appreciate that stuff more back then, but it's also like toilet humor has never really been my forte.
Fair enough. I don't think it's anyone's forte, but like...
Well, it's some people's.
Okay.
Well, forte suggests it's like a level area of expertise for them.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
In
Like,
James Gunn's writing, maybe it's his forte.
maybe it is. I will say that, like, voice performances and I like Matthew Lillard as well, like make it half decent.
Oh, the physicality of him like doing the
And then
around.
because then it like I love the fact that even when Scooby does the first one, the fact that he whirls around, it's like shaping up like a gunfight. I'm like,
the
good
face,
stuff.
The face is good.
But yeah, it goes from a burp into a fart contest, which the one thing that gets me every time, it's like the fist pump and like the little leg shake to the side he does, and then he kind of just braces himself and then sticks his butt out and goes with a massive one as Scooby's trying to be like, no, Daphne's behind you, and then completely blasts her. It's stupid, but that part is like the funny part. I'm like, okay, I know this scene's basically over because as Daphne reminds him, we're here to solve a mystery.
To solve a mystery?
A mystery. Real sassy. Sassy Daphne. Oh,
Sassy Daphne.
she's got a bit of German heritage.
Yeah,
Sarah Michelle Gellar. Anyway, yeah, and they have to sort of escape. They've sort of come together. They've worked out all their different things.
Bump, bump, bump in the night.
Great, again, more great tracks. But yeah, bump in the night and bump goes the light.
You gotta know, baby, it goes bump.
Bump in the lights. That's what they say.
So they head on back to the resort, and they run into Mr. Mononucleosis.
And he says, Mr. Mononucleosis, we have a smorgasbord of suspects.
And he says, Mr. Mononucleosis, and he just,
Yes.
yes.
Mr. Mononucleosis? Yes.
There is nothing more amusing to me than a like frustrated Rowan Atkinson. I always find Rowan Atkinson's forms of comedy where he's like sarcastic to be far wittier than when he's like the dumb, goofy one. So like I love Blackadder with his sarcasm as opposed to like Johnny English which they're both really good.
But even like I would say like some parts of Johnny English where he's like thinks he knows everything, particularly if he's explaining things to Boff, and that's some of the most effective parts of that movie.
100%.
Anyway, a bit of a Johnny English sidebar, which probably we should do in Film Club.
My God, what have they done to you? They've taken some of my blood. Bastards. And you angels of death. He's great. I love Rowan Atkinson.
We'll get there.
Maybe. I wouldn't mind doing Johnny English,
We've got some
actually.
spots open for term 4.
Yeah. So they list that they've got 3 suspects. It's Voodoo Guy number 1.
Nagu Tauna.
Voodoo Guy number 2. The Beach Voodoo Guy.
Beach Voodoo Man. I'm not sure what his name is.
I thought you were going to be the expert.
And you.
I'm a suspect? Oh, don't take it personally. It's mainly because you creep me out. And he's like,
Of course.
Oh, I see. Oh.
Sounds like Michael Caine and Crispin Glover.
I was waiting for that impression.
What the Michael Caine impersonation?
For Crispin Glover.
I'm a suspect in Scooby-Doo.
Hey, you get your damn hands off
your
her.
filthy hands off her. Of course. Anyway.
If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. Anyway.
Like being a superhero, a vigilante like Batman.
They all kind of split up to study different things. Velma goes to the bar, and I don't know whether because she gets a drink on the house. I don't know whether the drink is spiked or whether she just handles her booze like Doc from Back to the Future.
Because after the flashback, she's absolutely
cooked.
wasted.
So the flashback's a lot of fun too. We get a bit of expositional Marty in that section.
We do. But before we get expositional Marty, we'll work out that one of our antagonists also has some multiple talents. The way that
playing the piano.
The way that he walks up and the way that like the score swells to be like, oh my God, what's he gonna do? And just starts playing piano. It's so good.
Very,
love that.
very good.
Love that.
So Velma goes full expositional Marty and educates us all about Scrappy-Doo. And I love that flashback. Like the cheesiness of it, like panning along to them in the car and they're all like looking around
and then
at
you've
each other.
God Only Knows by the Beach Boys as well, perfectly sort of suiting that.
So good.
Yeah.
She goes, she was the coolest girl at
Coolsville High.
You're more Coolsville than I am.
Knowing Scooby-Doo 2 2002 off by heart is pretty damn Coolsville, not going to lie.
Yeah, it is. The other thing that is established is that they've left Scrappy-Doo because he's super annoying with the puppy power.
He's super, he's a couple of other super things as well, because the fact
super stream?
Oh, yeah, the fact that he pees on her is like it was an accident, but Fred says
like,
you were marking your territory, and they said you don't have the scrote for this job, Pally, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, he's a bit of an a-hole.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, now I can see where like the original cut of this film may have some stuff left in.
Yeah, yeah.
Because even like when after he pees on her, like, and he says it was an accident, he's like looking at Daphne and be like, yeah, no, it wasn't.
It wasn't an accident. Gross, really gross.
Really
so they leave him
Scrappy-Doo.
by the side of the road, and you might be thinking, how could you, even if it was a poorly behaved puppy, how could you leave a puppy by the side of the road? But the good news is he's not a puppy. He just has a gland disorder.
Excellent. So good.
I had forgotten that line,
Yeah.
and I literally laughed out loud last night. So funny.
Really, really good.
Oh my god.
But yeah, as you said before, Velma's like pretty wasted at the moment.
Woo!
Woo-hoo-hoo! That's what she does.
That's what she
That's what she
says.
says. Come on, Led Zeppelin, man, put your hands in and go, woo-hoo-hoo! And then he woo-hoo-hoos out of the movie.
But the piano stops playing and everyone gives it a big round of applause.
Yeah, he loves it.
But Scooby sees a monster through the window and freaks out again. And Fred gets up and he tries to calm everyone down.
He's doing
like,
this big speech.
there is absolutely no such thing as monster!
Monster!
That's your Fred?
Monster!
Frankenstein.
Monster! More like Fredkenstein, am I right?
Yes, you are right. I wish we were doing mashups.
Oh, perfect. He's done
yeah.
it.
But
yeah, monsters crash the party.
yeah, and nice. Literally crashed the party. And Velma has a classic, my glasses! I can't find my glasses!
Classic.
So, here's where the CGI
Gets a bit janky.
It's a bit trashy, especially when Rowan Atkinson gets taken.
Oh,
through the floor.
that looks like a
It's just
PS2 cutscene. Yeah,
amazing.
he kind of like flails in the air like a crab, and then he just descends down.
I mean, I don't care though. Like, I still think it works because the whole film is goofy and silly. And
Yeah, it does. But yeah, Fred gets knocked out by like the monster's gas.
as does Velma.
Yeah,
who
like
tries to pull the mask off.
Yeah, she's got her foot on the bottom of the monster's mouth, and then got the horns, and then it just sort of snaps back. You know, I guess they're sort of taken. Fred and Velma are specifically taken.
You remind me of a man. What man? And the little with the toes in the suitcase.
Very cartoonish and very, very good.
Another classic cartoon moment when they do crash out the window. Scooby hangs in the air for a moment before falling.
Even as well before that, when Scooby like bites off one of the monster's nails and then disappears in like, but then there's like a smoky
puff of
silhouette.
smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Very, very good.
Love all that. But yeah, so Mary Jane escapes with them, Shaggy and Daphne. They basically
Hide out in the urns.
They do hide out in the urns, and Daphne's like, I'm capable of doing it.
I got this.
And then falls flat over.
Oh, no, I meant the part where the door closes over and she's like, I don't got this.
No, she don't
She
got
don't got this.
She don't got this. But yeah, they spot the monsters basically taking the knocked out college students back
underground
into the
hidden cave.
underground layer.
Isla Fisher calls for help, but
This scene is
it's wild. It's old Fitzgibbon, and he's part of the Coast Guard, and he's just
Our
got that
friends are being
creepy
kidnapped.
laugh. It's so weird. I love it though. I love it.
The scene is just like so random.
The
in
Coast
movie.
Guard's been infiltrated. Makes sense. That's
They
how
have.
he would have been better if he said, "Our friends have been kidnapped, dog," or like
My
some of
dog.
the- my dog, dap me up.
Dap me up, Coast Guard.
Oh dear. So obviously the Coast Guard's not coming to help. So the
Yeah.
next morning they have to figure things out for themselves. But everything's back to normal.
Exactly. There's no broken glass or smashed up windows or, basically all fine. And
It did make me think it's not a super productive way for the monsters to attack. If they got to keep fixing the resort up for all the newcomers.
The cleaning staff, they're so busy.
Yeah. Well, can't they be a little more subtle?
You'd hope so, but no good set pieces. But speaking of good set pieces, we've now got Sugar Ray in the movie singing Words to Me. And not even Sugar Ray is safe from being brainwashed.
No, their eyes, the only thing brighter than their eyes are their fluorescent tips.
Yes, and their baby blue tank tops.
Oh, yeah.
Get up, get up, get up.
The people dancing in the background too, amazing.
It's
so good.
This whole scene feels like a 2002 time capsule, basically.
And Fred's like,
oh yeah.
The biatch was like, what? And I was like, later on. And then he's like, what up, dog?
And what up, dog?
Keeping it real.
Man, we got beats like it was on the Lisney's on Earth. You know what I'm saying, G? No, I don't know what you're saying.
No one knows what you're saying,
my G.
My G.
And then they work out that basically they're
all monsters, and we get a massive Dutch tilt when he's like, "Get the dog."
But they escape into this.
Let's get out of here, boys.
Basically turns into Buford Tannen.
Chicken go cluck cluck, cow go moo.
Beautiful girl, oink oink. How about you?
I love this attack though, like when they're jumping up and they attack him with the guitars.
And then playing chords and stuff while they're going through.
So
but
good.
the best part is when they crash through, and Fred's choking Shaggy out. Scooby's like, Raj is Fred in a bad mood.
He's not in a bad mood, buddy.
He's a monster. Why is he in a bad mood? Just thinking that's a usual that happens. And Fred's just choking Shaggy out like Bart Simpson.
They're dysfunctional. I'll give him that.
Oh my god.
And I love that he can't tell the difference between him saying bikes or yikes because they're both rikes. He's like, rikes.
I know, Scoob. No,
Yikes.
rikes. And he's like, yeah.
I love that look of them crashing through the door though. What I want to know is they pick up Mary Jane on the path. It's like, how come she has the ability to act a lot more subtle, whereas everyone else is just like...
Well, because even she says, something's happened to one of my friends.
One of my friends. No one else pretends to be normal.
And you'd think, this... I mean, to be fair, this is probably not the character you need to pretend with as well. A, they're not the sharpest tools in the shed. And
True.
B, one of them's infatuated with you, so you'd probably say anything and you'd be right.
So true.
But you get the fun little...
Smacks her face. It does make you wonder the logistics of the... Because they're in human bodies. Why is her face all like...
I don't know.
Because it looks cool.
To show the audience.
It does look very cool.
It turns into... The Scooby turns into expositional Scooby.
Mary Jane's a man in a mask.
Pretty much, yeah. They sort of arrive at the front of the hideout and, Shaggy's like, you were great. And it was like, she didn't do anything, but she's on the back of the bike.
And Scooby comes bounding down. I just made it in the front door.
Good reference. Good reference.
And as soon as they saw me, they came bounding over. And I just made it into the front door in time.
Love that.
But Shaggy doesn't believe Scoobs.
No, and then Scooby says, Raggy, you're ripped. It's like, I'm whipped? Why don't you say that to my face? It's like, we just did.
Yeah.
And then it sort of turns into a whole thing. It's like, okay, I will. Your mother eats rat poop. And it's like, no, Scooby-Doo, your mother eats cat poop. So good.
You lay hands on the hips. Very good.
Very sassy, Shaggy.
But they don't get a chance to resolve it because Scooby falls down a hole.
Yep.
So Matthew Lily goes, you stay here. I'll be right back. A beautiful Scream reference.
Really good.
Mwah.
You stay here, I'll be right back.
Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
On your Lillard.
So good. And then dives into the hole.
Like head first.
Amazing.
It's like, how does he not get dead?
We never see him land, do we?
Not really.
No.
I mean, he kind of rolls and this is where I have landed eventually. But so he finds the pool of souls that have kind of been...
Not before saying the classic Scooby-Doo line. Scooby-Doo, where are you?
He says it a few times. He'd said it in the where the monsters crash the party as well.
That's true. Yeah.
Says it a few times just in case you didn't hear it the first time.
So true.
Which is fair. But yeah.
As you say, he finds the vat of CGI souls.
Yep.
I actually don't mind the look of the protoplasmic heads.
I think it looks all right.
Like, it obviously doesn't look photorealistic, but it kind of works because of what it is.
Yep.
So he releases Velma
Velma.
first. She flies back to her body, and we see the really cool effect where the monster kind of pops out.
Yep.
And it like blisters and bubbles up, and then
a bit like a
disappears.
gremlin.
They should just wear some suntan lotion, something with a high SPF.
Yeah, I mean, you're filming in the Gold Coast. You need it.
You do need it.
That's
Absolutely.
some strong sun.
Yeah, that's what my skin looks like when I'm in the
On the
Gold
Gold
Coast.
Coast, just blisters and pimples, and then you explode.
Yeah. So he finds Fred next, and he goes, "Someone must have spiked my drink last night.
Talk me down, man. Talk me down."
Fred, you're a freaking protoplasmic head. I know. He's looking for reassurance. I'm still the best protoplasmic looking head here, right?
Yeah.
And I love when he picks up the random person, and the guy's like, "Oh, thanks for saving me." He's like, "I'm looking for my friend."
Sorry.
Puts him back in.
I don't want to save you. Only my mates. That's fair.
But he releases Daphne as well, and we get this great fake out where you just assume
Daphne's
that
back.
Daphne's going back to her own body.
That monster explodes as well, with sort of Velma ushering, sort of shoves Daphne into a room.
Yeah.
Leaves the door open.
Oh, how much fun does it look like they're having when they're like...
Just convulsing
it's
on the
amazing.
chair. But yeah, the monster's dead.
And
then he starts
Velma
talking to
asks,
Daphne's like,
"Are you okay?" It's like, "Yeah, but I'm not Daphne."
I'm not Daphne.
And he's like clearly putting on a deeper voice for the comedy of that reveal.
But I'm not Daphne.
I'm not
Daphne.
Sounds like Misha Barton in the Deep Clean commercials. Do you remember that?
No.
It was like for
That's a reference.
I don't know if it was like a makeup, and she's talking about like getting a deep clean. Misha Barton talking in a deep voice. So
Deep
she's talking
voice,
about a
Misha
deep
Barton.
clean. See if I can find it.
Okay.
Get the Deep Clean with the Neutrogena Difference. Deep Clean Cream Cleanser. It cleans so deep.
Very funny. Anyway, so such a good source of comedy with them all in each other's bodies.
It's so much
the
fun.
cut to Daphne and Fred's body, walking with the handbag and like the hand on hip. Fred keeps touching me.
Fred keeps touching me.
It's so good. And they meet up, and then they've got the Damon Ridus, and it kind of makes them keep swapping all over and over again. My favorite one, I think, is when Shaggy's in Velma's body,
and just like,
and he's like, "Man, like, why am I wearing a dress?"
Yeah, just like shaking around.
And he's just like, yeah, it's just the best. That's my favorite.
Shaggy as Fred is also very good when he like takes control.
And he's like giving orders and stuff like that, and doing a bit of expositional Freddy, which is really, really good. All these performances are really good. I think, like Linda Cardinelli's crashing it in this scene as well, being all the different characters. But eventually, they're back in their own bodies.
Yep. And they head on down to the beach, and they run into the voodoo guy on the beach, and I love
This is so
it.
good.
I know how to handle this guy.
Hey you! What are you doing? Yes, that is masterful. Velma says.
So he kind of explains to them what's going on.
Yes.
How good does the dead Anuki beast look? The little puppet thing
It
he's
looks
got?
really good.
That's cool.
It's going to protect him from what Dark Apocalypse, whatever it is. Dark Apocalypse?
Evil Darkopolis ritual.
The Darkopolis ritual.
Is that right?
You're the expert, man.
Dark Apocalypse.
I don't want to say anything. I'm being corrected so many times.
You don't
already.
want to, only twice.
Oh, sorry. That's another correction there.
Good.
Got him. Got him.
He's done it.
So he says that the creatures are essentially going to take over the world, but in order to do
10,000
that,
years.
they need a sacrifice of a pure soul, or should I say, a sacrifice?
Yes, because they work out and it's like, it didn't have to be human. And then they like work out.
Your Velma voice is very good.
Thank you.
We didn't mention that you've come as a hybrid costume today.
Yeah, because I got my
You're
glasses.
half Shaggy, half Velma.
My glasses. Oh, here they are. That's fine. Because I need them to
Nice.
see. Probably one of my favorite deliveries in this entire movie is when they cut to Scooby just chilling out, and Rowan Atkinson walks in and he's like, "Scoobit!" It's the just whimsy and
He's
enthusiasm.
very, very excited.
It's just great.
So this was the first time watching it. Like, I remembered him saying scuba and laughing at that a lot. But later on, someone else refers to him as Scoobit. And
What's his full name?
I found out that this is the first time that they give a full first name to Scooby
And Shaggy.
to Shaggy. So I don't remember them saying it in the movie, but I was just looking it up.
Because they say when the guy is trying to recruit them in the car park, he's like, "Oh, I've got a letter for Mr. Do and Mr. Rogers."
Yeah.
So that's
Norville is
Norville Rogers.
Yeah, so when they say Norville Rogers.
I think they say Norville Rogers there. Yeah. Again, I'm not the expert.
They could have just said Mr. Do, because what if it was for Melvin?
Melvin pops out of the van.
Melvin Do?
He's just there in the middle of eating a chocolate-covered eggplant burger with hot sauce
You mean
racha-cha-cha.
eggplant burger?
Racha-cha-cha. That's he got that off Melvin Do. That's what he says.
That's it.
Racha-cha-cha.
That's his classic phrase. He says all the things that Scooby says just without the
It's
voice.
just the same deadpan delivery.
He goes, ree-hee-hee-hee-hee.
Ree-hee-hee-hee. I want a Scooby snack.
Anyway, so I love this moment. How he's like, hey, that's me, and turns around, and it's the same pose.
Yeah.
It is you.
Because we love you, Scooby-Doo. And then he playing with like the bubble head.
Yeah, he's like, what's that? That's a cat with a bobbing head. Please don't touch it. Smacks his hand away.
They have to sort of like make a plan to sort of stop the ritual.
Yeah, let's get
essentially.
jinky with it.
And let's
get jinky with it.
Good.
Sorry.
And they
I've got too much personality. I can't capture
That's okay, I
the
don't.
dullness of fella. It's all you, buddy.
It's all me.
you.
It's all my lack of personality. But they kind of sort of officially reform now as a group. This is sort of them getting back together
We
properly.
get a little montage. No one interrupts them while they're getting the ropes off the thing. They can get the big disco skull down.
No cameras around or anything like that. No
Do you like that
security
the disco
protocols.
skull also has James Gunn's haircut?
It was modelled after James Gunn. Just looks like old gunny boy.
Gunny boy.
That's what they say. But yeah, they sort of set the plan up. So basically what will happen is they'll knock over the vat of souls, releasing the souls back into everyone's body.
Open up the vents at the top.
Yep, and then the sun will shine off the disco ball, killing all the
James Gunn
monsters
disco skull.
of James Gunn's head. It's literally just James Gunn swinging on a rope. And then, they'll save the day. They'll grab Scoob and we'll scram-o.
Of course, it doesn't work that way. And
No, because the ritual's starting and they sort of have to rush and get things
Shaggy
going.
gets caught in the rope.
And he's like, let's go.
How good does it look, though, when he flies into the guy? So funny.
And he's like a bloody trapeze artist.
Oh,
A bloody
now you're
trapeze.
bloody speaking my language.
My circus language.
It's all screwed up now. Daphne's in the tunnels at the top trying to crawl her way so she can open the vents.
Yep.
But the others are all down and they have to blend into the ritual. So Velma hand jives. She goes like this. Fred does the sprinkler and then the shopping trolley. And then Velma's singing the Banana Fofana song. Banana Fana Fofana.
So good.
And then Fred does, oh, come on guys, this is the part where we do the electric slide. It's electric. And Rowan Atkinson just rolling his eyes.
Sounds like Tobey Maguire when he does his woo.
Woo! That's what Shaggy says when he's flying down on the rope. Oh, man.
He just keeps going and he just commits to the bit. He's
It's
like,
electric.
and he keeps going.
I never understood why Velma joins in.
It's like, goes back to that. And then Nagoo's up there as well.
Nagoo!
Nagoo! It's just Adam Sandler. Nagoo! And the end is silent.
What do you mean you had an accident?
Nagoo!
Goo! Oh, anyway, so they capture them, and Rowan Atkinson's ready for the tribal ceremony. So he's like, "Let's go!"
He doesn't. That's literally what Rowan Atkinson says.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's actually a lot of similarities between Adam Sandler's voice and Scooby-Doo's voice. Let's go!
That's a good comparison. That is a good comparison. Almost ruins Adam Sandler when you just work out his impersonating
Scooby-Doo. The whole time, baby doll.
Shaggy's had to blend in as well.
Oh, he's dancing. The elbows.
Just
And it's like he doesn't realize he's knocking him out.
No,
but then
I
at
know.
the end, he does a little celebratory like he has known.
But then he's also rubbing his elbows like, why do they hurt so
So
much?
bad.
It's because you've been elbowing some bloke in the face, you idiot. With such gusto as well.
So much gusto.
But yeah, blends in. And then I love this scene with Shaggy and Scooby.
Apologizing? Yeah, it's so sweet.
It's
He's your best buddy in the whole wide world.
right? Like still sort of like confirming that they still are best friends, and it's like, and who's my best bud in the whole wide world? I don't know what I've just put like a bit of like twang on it. Who's my best bud in the whole wide world?
I can't remember what you said last week, but there was something in a real southern tone. Like a southern
belle.
belle.
Yeah. He's like, who's my
Well,
best bud?
I do declare,
I do declare,
Scooby-Doo.
you are my best friend.
Who's my bestest buddy in all the plantations, he says.
And he says, Ruby Doo.
He says, Ruby Dooby Doo. And he has heaven stars.
But yeah, they basically sort of like reform, and it's like, all right, cool. We've got a plan to get you out of this. And it's like, how about we go on the count of 5?
I love it.
1,
Gives him a
2,
nice little number.
Yeah. So yeah, the machine basically started to do the ritual.
Sucks out his soul.
It does, and then
But he's still having a good time. He's still reading.
yeah, he's just bobbling around as a little roto-rasmic red.
Roto-rasmic
red. But yeah, all the other souls are basically going into Monteveris's body, and now it's
Shaggy's
like he's ready for the pure one.
Does he say nobody sucks out my best friend's soul or something?
Something along
He's
those
like,
lines.
whoo!
It jumps on top of like
swings
sort
it
of
around, knocks
and-
over Rowan Atkinson, who's just like
yeah.
his face as he falls to the ground. So good, though.
Man in a mask.
It's like this time it's non-man
In a non-mask.
man mask.
Well, yeah, exactly, and it's just a robot.
mouthful.
And
robot.
A robot.
It's simply a robot.
And then the Damon Riders kind of like
Robert Atkinson, they call it.
Good. The Damon Riders kind of gets like sucked through his chest, and then it opens up to reveal the real villain of this movie, Melvin Do. No, Old Man Smithers. No.
Don't you mean Melvin Do?
Don't you mean Melvin Do?
But it's Rappy Doo.
It is Rappy Doo.
Who's got a microphone and starts rapping in there.
Yo, yo, yo,
Yo,
he
yo,
says.
yo, 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 I really want to sleep with Daphne.
MC Rappy Doo on the mic.
That's a real mic drop moment when he reveals, that he was indeed Mark Easter. Good.
Don't do as Rappy Doo do. Oh man. So because he's already ingested through the Damon Riders some souls, he starts
He's
to
got
like
enough.
Hulk out and he's on the roids. He's on the roids hard.
Roidy do.
Roidy Doo, they call him.
Oh no! And then basically he's like, "Well, I sent you here because I wanted to get rid of Mr. Ink to sort of take
It's
revenge."
a real convoluted plan. And are we to assume these monsters were already on the island when the real Rowan Atkinson was running it?
Well, I don't know.
Don't ask too many questions.
Never ask too many questions, particularly when Scrappy Doo's involved.
So while this is all going on,
fight scenes are plenty.
And you must have loved this because it's got wrestling in it,
does have
mate.
wrestling. I do
Wrestling.
have. I can't even remember the wrestler's name, so it's fine.
Kung Fu Daphne is up top,
Kung
and
Fu
she's
Daph.
sick of being a damsel in distress.
And she's like, well, I've been learning these sick moves in my other role.
I love
I'm
it.
going to bring them here.
I love it. Just
It's-
like
it's
defies
so-
gravity.
It's so... Like, at one stage, she almost gets, like, taken by the wrestler and kicks him back, but she's still horizontal in midair. Like, she should fall down. She's not holding on to anything. Doesn't make any sense. She's a slayer. She's got
a
power.
slayer.
She's
She
got
does.
power. She's a black belt and a slayer. So,
yeah, she is.
as she says, she's transformed her
Slay
body.
Queen, we said.
A couple of those ones.
The final move too, the fact that the railing is like a wrestling ring.
He's so good. And the fact
Very
he gets
clever.
up on top, hits an elbow drop, and then is like, ow! It's just really good. And then, it turns into like a
he
street
falls
fight.
over onto the above the vent. And it's like, now who's the damsel in distress?
Me? Straight up.
What is that lingo? Is
Straight
that
up.
2000s early lingo?
Straight up.
It's a big old
100%.
boing.
And the flips over.
So she kicks him through the sunroof. The souls spill out.
Yep.
The monsters are getting all blistered. Shaggy does the old pinchy and pulls off the Damon Riders.
Yes,
from
with
scrapping
the
his chest.
with the
and
picture.
it comes out like he's a balloon deflating. It's like.
And there's all the limbs sort of like shrink down again, and he's back to having his gland disease, whatever it is. So, which is fantastic. And basically the day has been saved. Fred and Daphne get together.
Everyone pairs off.
Yep.
Velma and Random Dude.
Yeah, with Led Zeppelin Man.
Led Zeppelin Man and Shaggy and Mary Jane.
But they will tell you they do find the real Mondavarius.
I love it.
She's looking like a skeleton.
This is a real Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire moment here.
Yeah. So,
Mad Eye Moody was in the case all along.
Yeah. But they find Mondavarius, who basically says that like the little dog came during like a rehearsal for elves.
Yeah.
And then basically took over, which is kind of wild.
But he's just like, oh well, anyway, happy to be back.
Yep, and then very quickly gets shaved and is back in very clean.
Oh, I love it. It's
uniform.
So good.
The power of Atkinson.
So the press comes in, and this time, even though Fred starts out by being like, here's what happened, he then goes, I'm going to pass over to Velma.
The Velmster.
The Velmster.
Finally got a nickname.
Wow, he gave her a nickname earlier, and she's like, you think just because you gave me a nickname, I'm going to blah, blah, meet more, moop, mop,
be part of the team? And she's like emotional about it. He's like, yeah, I am.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Velmster. Woo!
Okay, so this is what happened.
Sounded more like Roz from Monsters.
What else? Yeah, turning your favorite.
Velma's a bit more optimistic than Roz.
Surprise!
That's what Velma does when she pulls off the mask of anyone in Scooby-Doo.
This has been a back-to-back Roz impression.
just rosin.
Just rosin. And we wrap things with the
big woo-hoo-hoo.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
But that's Scooby-Doo 2002.
Nice.
I love this film so much.
Me too. I will return to it, the sequel, sorry.
It's Ugly Stepsister.
But if you're listening, James Gunn, release the R-cut. Or even just get the band back together and make a darker one.
I would 100% be so down for that.
But I will watch the second one again, and you'll hear my complaints in future weeks. Or maybe you'll hear me eat humble pie.
Maybe. Yeah. Just every time he eats, like, Scooby, shut up! Because he's eating up some scenery.
Remember the time you ate up scenery?
But I think Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed definitely could be a future pod. Maybe a future spooky season. So you've got 12 months to get ready for it.
Yikes. Psych myself up.
But,
but good suggestion, Mr. Boylan. I've actually wanted to do this one on the pod before, and it kind of fell off the radar. So when you suggested it, I was super keen.
Yeah, I think one of the first things I honestly did when joining film club for the first time was like looking up what are some PG horror movies, and particularly with an eye towards spooky season. And I thought I'd have a little bit of a
think about it.
Sorry, Ben Mendelsohn. But particularly now, having such a great appreciation for James Gunn's work across a lot of different properties, I can really sort of appreciate this film on a different level. So, having films that I appreciated as a kid.
James Tommy Gunn.
James. Oh yeah, being able to go back and look at films that we appreciated as kids is great, but then finding new appreciations for them as adults, it's like the best thing for me. Like talking about films on Film Club. So I was really looking forward to this one, and I highly enjoyed this discussion of it.
As did I. Shall we move on to Tantalising Trailers?
Well, let's do it.
Trailers. Tantalizing films. Trailers. Don't know if we will be a fan. How will it be? We'll know in time.
Let's do it. So I got
kick us
two. I'm gonna kick things off with A Man on the Inside, and you, Ted Danson, Netflix show.
Netflix.
Netflix. It He's kind of like he's a retired guy. I think it's his daughter in the trailer is like encouraging him, or maybe a friend of his or someone who lives in the building. Like, you need a hobby. You need something to like fill up your time. And he sees that there's like an investigative assistant role in the newspaper. And so he applies for it and then is the man on the inside. But because he's a little bit older and very inexperienced with it, you can see that he's like very out of his depth. And
cool. Okay.
I love Ted Danson. I think he's really, really good with comedy. I think The Good Place showed that he still very much has it. And he's got that kind of infectious, sort of excited nature about him, like his character did in the first season of The Good Place.
Okay.
He's just very excitable. And you can see in the trailer too, the person that he's working for now keeps asking him like, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? And he's like, yep. And she gets to a point where she's like, are you just tapping body parts? He's like, yes, I haven't gotten anything. And it's just like, he's really infectious. It looks like a lot of fun. But yeah, I could do with a new series. I've just finished What We Do in the Shadows.
Nice.
So I'm keen for a new one. Then this looks like a bit of fun.
Sounds like a fun one to check out. Spooky Season's 24/7, 365 for me, so I will talk Heart Eyes.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a slasher. It's got the producers of the new Scream movies who are attached to this one. It's also got Olivia Holt, who plays the teen version of Julie Bowen in Totally Killer. So her and Mason Gooding, who's in the new Scream movies as well. Basically, it's like the premise is there's like a serial killer that hunts couples, particularly around Valentine's Day. Actually has some really like creepy like heart eyes. That's like in the character's name that look like they're very bright, and the rest of the character is quite dark. And I was like, I think that's a pretty cool sort of like costume for a serial killer.
Yeah, I like that.
But basically, two co-workers are working overtime on Valentine's Day, and they get mistaken for a couple. So they're getting basically hunted by the serial killer, and they have to try to survive the night. And I'm like,
premise.
yeah, like nothing too crazy, but I'm like, that sounds like a bit of fun. And considering who's involved in terms of actors and producers, despite the fact that the film's being made by Spyglass, and I'm probably not super happy with what Spyglass are doing, I am still a little bit intrigued to go watch this film.
Nice.
So, yeah. Hard Eyes.
Next for me, and finally for me, is Squid Game Season 2, Trailer 2.
Yes. Well, this is one I did have on my list, so
we're going to have just a bit of a chat about it. So you mentioned earlier today that you weren't that excited for new Squid Game.
I wasn't like not excited. I was just very indifferent about it.
It's been a while. So it can often happen that if a show hasn't had a season in a while, that you lose interest. And in a lot of cases, you kind of forget what's happened and have to go back and revisit it. But I feel like Squid Game is so ingrained in people's minds that it's certainly not that. But I can understand that when you haven't seen something in a while, it just fizzles out.
Well, I think a bit of that, and I felt like as much as, there was still some things, there's still some unfinished business in season 1. It did feel quite contained as a one-season show, I thought as well. So, but doesn't matter now. That trailer looks sick.
It does look sick. Something that I was really interested about, like, I knew that he was going to get sucked back into the games, but I didn't really know how that was going to happen and what form it would take if he did, whether it's like it starts with games, but then it's about like taking over like the group or whatever it might be. But it really does look like it's going to be another almost full season of games. That not necessarily, but that's what the trailer will make it appear like. And it's him basically trying to convince people not to participate in the games. And one thing that's very cool that I don't think they had in the first season.
The voting thing?
A voting at the end of each game. So they did have an opportunity in season 1 where you could vote to stop after the first game.
Yes.
But I don't think that was an option that carried on. And so it adds a really cool element where even when they realize what's going on, they aren't necessarily saying we want to keep playing all the way to the end, but there's an idea of like, let's do one more game, because then when we divide the money up between us, there's going to be more of it that divides, and there's going to be less people in the game. So it's like, as long as I survive one more round, I get more money when I leave.
And it really plays into that whole sort of, it's like a gambling addiction. I was like, no, I'll play one more round of cards at the tables. I'll put in like another bet, playing poker or whatever it's going to be, or getting on the roulette wheel. And it's that addiction to like a really significant amount of money, versus other people's lives, and it really sort of highlights the like man's inhumanity to man sort of concept that the first season did so well. So yeah, I'm game.
Interesting to have Red Light, Green Light back.
Yep.
I didn't expect that. I expected all new
games.
But you'll still get a fresh perspective on it because you've got someone who knows the game and is trying to warn people. And
others who don't.
Yeah. So it looks good. Looks really, really good. I'm excited.
Me too.
One thing I want to mention too about that, because Darcy was saying too, like, has it really been only one season that's been released? They released a reality show of Squid Game. You never watched it?
I know, I didn't touch it.
I watched it and I really liked it. I'm a bit of a sucker for things like that. Like, I've watched up to like season 40 or whatever of Survivor, which is just a crazy amount of time spent watching a very trashy show.
Fair play.
But I love like the game elements of it in Survivor, like the actual challenges they do.
Yep.
But I also like, one of the best things about those reality shows is the more time you spend with people and seeing like the character dynamics, it makes the game elements more exciting because you're like, I really want this person to win. Like, I find this person annoying, I want them to lose. And so you connect with the characters and then it makes the game elements far more exciting.
Yep.
So even though the games are what brought me into the show, it's like the personal relationships and stuff between characters, that's what kind of keeps you going back and starting again. And there was some really good characters that you would root for in the reality Squid Game.
Okay.
And some that you would be like, I want you to leave this show
I want you to die.
And it's wild. It really sucks you in, and it did a really good job of replicating the feeling of the show where you're like, I want this character to survive, I don't want this one to. And it was very, very well done. And the other thing about it too that's cool is that they're actually playing these games. So just because you like someone and just because they're a fan favorite doesn't mean that they're going to stay in. And that's something that kind of differs from the TV show. You're like, well, you know that this person's going to stick around a little bit longer.
At least another episode.
Yeah, so because I only had 2 for trailers, I wanted to chuck in that little tidbit as well.
I've got one more. One more trailer to talk about, and that is Presence. I spoke about how much I liked In a Violent Nature this year. This is a perspective from pretty much entirely from the killer in that movie. This film is basically a ghost story done entirely. The camera's perspective is all coming from the ghost.
That's interesting.
So it's got it's also produced. So this is Steve Soderbergh's, I think, first real crack at a horror movie as well. He's a very well established director. It's also produced by Neon, so that intrigues me because I always like what they do, particularly in the horror space. It's got Lucy Liu in it as well, and ghost stories quite often aren't a horror subgenre that I lean towards, but different sort of perspective, very well established, and
director. You lean towards this one today.
Not usually. This is an exception.
Lucy Liu, where are you?
That's great. That's what the movie should be called. Lucy Liu, where are you? So yeah, I mean, I was already keen to see the film, but now I really am. But that's my last of Tantalising Trailers.
Nice.
So we talk about 5 different things and why they're our favourites.
Oh, jeez. What a way to butcher the title of that. Let's jump into 5 favourites.
We got 5 favorites. Above all else. We got 5 favorites that we think are top shelf.
So a bit of a different 5 favourites today. Obviously, with our spooky theme, we wanted to do something to do with horror movies. And you wanted to do horror films that we had watched throughout the Halloween season. But
why was this difficult, Mr. Brown?
Well, my Halloween season hasn't been nearly as productive as your Halloween season.
At current count, if I'm I'm going to cheat and use a film that I watched November 1st as well.
Okay, all right, I'll allow it.
I got through 26 horror movies.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty happy with. I wanted to get to 31, but unfortunately life got in the way a little bit. But that's okay. I'll be trying for 31 next year. But I'm pretty happy to get 26 done. But
look, fair. And I must say there was a real sense of accomplishment and I guess a sense of not accomplishing anything else the year that I did 100 films in 31 days.
Which is that's crazy.
Yeah, but there was some slogs throughout the mix of
Can
that.
imagine.
But really lackluster turnout this year for me. And I have watched some horror films, but they haven't really been great horror films. So it felt weird to make a list of 5 favorites where I'm like, these are just the 5 I watched. So I asked if we could extend it to just films we've watched in 2024, horror films.
Yep, I said no, and then you overruled.
Yeah, I have that power.
Yep.
I am the leader of the group. And you just went, okay.
I just carry the bags.
That's it. That's it. But it has been a big year for horror. We had Maxine, we had Abigail, Trap, The Watchers, Blink Twice, Apartment 7A, all of which I really enjoyed. I've watched a bunch of other horror films that I didn't really enjoy this year as well. But I decided to go with 4 films that not only did I watch them this year, they were released this year, and I've got 1 film that I watched this year, but it was not released this year as well.
Cool.
So
awesome. All the films I'm talking about, bar 1, were watched during October. 2 of which I have watched for the first time, and 2 of which are some returns for a bit of a rewatch.
Nice.
So, yeah.
All of my films are films that I've watched for the first time.
Okay.
And I think that made it a little bit easier for me because, like, my classic horror films, like, I could go back to them time and time again.
Yep.
So they're the ones that I bring up all the time, like Scream and stuff like that. But I do want to say, too, this is probably going to be the intro hasn't been brief, but the list itself will probably be quite brief for me because these are all things that I've spoken about fairly recently. Some of them only last week, so I don't really need to go into a heap of detail, but at least it's like a little bit of a recap of the year and for you to see which ones I actually think rank among the highest of my horrors for the year. So, to kick things off, I'm going to go with Alien Romulus. I adored the film. I spoke about it in detail last week. One thing I did want to reiterate, I do think it's right up there amongst the best in the franchise. I love the first Alien. That's in a tier of its own. But Aliens and this one, for me, like they're pretty close. And I know that's probably blasphemous because everybody else loves Aliens the most. And nothing compares. But just like Sinead O'Connor said, that's what Sinead O'Connor was singing about, the Alien franchise.
Big fan. I mean, shaved, she kind of looks like a little bit like Ripley with the shaved head, so there you go.
That's so true. But if Sinead O'Connor was saying nothing compares about the 3rd Alien film. Yeah.
Nothing compares to how bad it is.
Yeah, that's still my least favourite one.
Not mine.
Anyway, this one was really, really good. And look, it probably does sit 3rd favourite in the franchise, but the fact that it's even getting close to those other 2
100%
is, speaks great lengths about how good it was and that they were just doing things right with who the characters were, the fun stuff that they were doing with the franchise. So, yeah, check out my review on Letterboxd or go back to last week's pod for a more detailed breakdown, but it's good stuff.
Awesome. I'm going to talk about another Fede Alvarez film that I watched for the first time last week, and that is Evil Dead from 2013. And oh boy, I had a good time with this one.
It's really good.
I really enjoyed Evil Dead Rise that came out last year. I watched this year as well. That probably would be in the best horror films that I've watched this year as well. I still remember it being marketed at the time as like one of the scariest movies that's ever like been released or something like that.
It's not, but it's creepy.
It's really creepy, and I think that I really enjoy the original Evil Dead films and what Sam Raimi did with that franchise. So to see someone else sort of step into that role,
Jane Levy kills it too.
She's so good,
so good.
The fact that you've got Levy plays a character at 3 very different stages through the movie, which is just like it. Any one of her performances would be good, but the fact that she's doing basically 3 different roles in the movie is incredible. And The effects look amazing. It feels mean, like it brings an edge back to Evil Dead, which I really enjoy because I like Army of Darkness as a film. I like some of the later Evil Dead stuff. I've watched parts of the TV series, not all of it, but I like Evil Dead 2 usually the most because I think it's the best balance between sort of what the first film does really well and not too much of what is to come, basically. Kind of how I feel a little bit about some of the Nightmare on Elm Street films, how they get the balance right between sort of comical Freddy and terrifying Freddy.
Yeah, the comedy comes from like almost absurd situations in the second film, whereas the third film feels like Scooby-Doo.
100%, yeah. But there's certainly some bits that are played for comedy in Fede Alvarez's film, don't get me wrong. I really like the interplay of all the characters. I think that's a really strong ensemble cast with everyone involved. But this is a really...
Talk to me about a strong ensemble, mate.
Jesus. But I just think this film just fires on all cylinders. I think that there's enough callbacks to the original. I like with the hand, it's almost like they basically spit in the face of that by like still having the person who cuts off their hand still get infected, which I think is really good. They don't play that for laughs at all with like a moving hand or anything like that. And it's like, no, like it's still like a terrifying zombie.
It's full on. And it's the first time that we've seen once someone's infected, like it's almost like there's a cure to it. I guess Ash kind of gets that in the original as well, but they don't really play with that idea all that much throughout the franchise.
Like someone who returns from being like a proper...
Yeah, not just like returns. It's like gone from being the main antagonist to the protagonist.
It's incredible.
It's wild.
It's like the best landing of a plane I've ever seen. I was standing up applauding for the landing of this plane.
I would love a kind of melding of the original world, the Evil Dead world, with that remake world together. Those two characters kind of coming together because they're like different demons.
Yes,
same again with Rise. I think it's like a third demon again.
Because like a different book, basically.
Yeah.
It's not the Necronomicon. So
no, but there are like connections between them, and so theoretically, all these people could exist in the same world together,
which is a pretty cool idea.
Yeah. Nice one. Thanks for reminding me how good that is.
Yeah.
Next on my list, Strange Darling. So again, I don't have to say too much about it. It was only a few weeks ago that I spoke about this one. Incredible performances, but the thing that really made it stand out was the way that the story was told and crafted and written so that it could be told out of order. It was a non-linear story, and the reveals throughout it as a result of that are so clever. It works really, really well to actually work that out, and the order in which the chapters are going to be divided up and the sequence in which they will play out, very clever, because there's about 3 or 4 fake outs with what you think is going on being revealed, only for it to be something else. Incredible. Strange Darling. Very good.
Comfortably one of my favourite movies of the year. When we get to doing our top films of 2024, I think that'll be very much up there. I'll talk about a movie that I'll quickly talk about because I did talk about it last week, and that's the thing.
There's going to be a lot of that.
It is a little bit of that. I was really happy to share this film with my partner for the first time. I really love this movie to pieces. Like 80s horror is still, I think, the best decade of horror, and it's films like this that reinforce that for me. Carpenter's firing on all cylinders here, and I really like horror films that are just regarded as more than a horror movie sometimes, and this is kind of one of those movies that is very much in the zeitgeist as it's just a really good movie. It's not just a good horror movie, it's just a really good movie, and I think there's something for everyone here, and I think that was really good, particularly like showing Molly this for the first time was because, again, not a big horror fan, but really liked sort of the paranoia because she loves a thriller, she loves true crime and stuff like that, and that's kind of why I wanted to go with that. And then you've got the practical effects that are just like the industry standard. I know, it's crazy. There's still like an industry standard, like for some of the coolest things you'll ever see, like on screen done with practical effects. Like, how do you do that? I love this movie so much, and I wanted to just give it a little bit more love for this year.
Nice. Next up for me, I'm going to go with Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, yeah.
Really good film. For the longest of times, it was sitting at the top of my list for 2024.
Oh.
Partly because for the longest of times, 2024 was a pretty disappointing year of cinema. But we've had a few more wins of late. A couple more that are on this list that have now trumped Late Night with the Devil.
Oh.
No, as in Strange Darling and Alien Romulus.
Okay,
like
cool.
both more.
Okay, you've talked about that.
Yeah,
All right, that's fine.
no big
more.
reveal.
Okay, all right.
Sorry,
Okay.
mate. Sorry. But this was just really cool. It's the only one on my list that I saw in cinemas. It felt creepy. It felt eerie the whole time. I loved the setup of it with it being a late night show, but also the documentary stuff behind the scenes. It felt real, and I love when horror films incorporate that because it makes it feel even more eerie as a result of that. The performances were cool, and I really liked the practical effects, but also the way that it kind of harkened back to the era in which it was produced as well.
Yep.
It's like it's 70s, right?
Yes.
So it's supposed to look like a 70s talk show, but the effects also were like the effects that you would do practically in a 70s horror film. And that was very, very cool. And the whole vibe with the satanic panic and all of that. Just everything really worked for me tonally. So great film, Late Night with the Devil.
Very, very good film. Probably would have been on my list if I was going a little bit more widespread for 2024. But yeah, nevertheless, a fantastic film. I will talk about a movie that I did watch for the first time this year. It's not a 2020 tour film, but it's from 2006, and it's not nicely linked to Scooby-Doo because it's James Gunn's directorial debut. It's Slither.
Oh, baby.
I've had a really good time with this movie. One of my latest Blu-ray purchases. I hadn't watched the movie, and I was just perusing Umbrella Entertainment, and I was like, yeah, I've heard about this movie, and I've heard good things, and I'd seen bits and pieces of this film, like in terms of like clips and stuff on YouTube, and yeah, it's just great. Again, like just so much DNA for things like Guardians and Suicide Squad for James Gunn and Peacemaker and these sort of things can be found in this movie. A lot of stuff that some shared DNA with Scooby-Doo itself.
The balance of horror and comedy.
It's pretty elite.
Good.
Because I haven't talked about this actually on the pod. Basically the film's about, it's kind of like a small town, and then someone gets infected by this parasite, I guess, and they sort of get taken over. Superbly played by Michael Rooker, who's plays Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy as well, sort of showing that
Neil from The Walking Dead.
That too. I haven't seen The Walking Dead. I can't chip in.
It was for the audience. It was for our Walking Dead fans. Ethan's he's Walking Dead currently. Ethan is watching The Walking Dead at the moment.
Gotcha. Hopefully he's okay while he's Walking Dead, I guess. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
At least he'll feel represented on screen.
Exactly. But yeah, I just really love sort of like the descent of this character. Again, the practical effects are really good in this movie. And I love good, like, gross out sort of like body horror stuff like this. And it's
oozy.
It's oozy and goopy and gross. And then you got Nathan Fillion, who's just killing it.
So many links.
There's a lot of laugh out loud moments for me watching this movie. And it's a bit gross. It's a bit scary. It's a bit tense. It's a bit funny. And that's all the things I like in a horror movie. So yeah, I had a really good time watching Slither this year.
Totally fair. For my penultimate one, let's go with Beetlejuice. All the others on my list I confidently put in. This one I had to put in just because I have a bit of a soft spot for Beetlejuice. Again, perhaps it's recency bias because I watched this recently, but we also talked about Beetlejuice recently. And the fact that this was able to recapture even a slither, if you will, of the magic of the original was a really, really nice aspect of rewatching it. I was a little worried that I might feel disappointed, have a Zoolander 2 sitch on our hands.
Nothing could be that bad.
It's true. Nothing ever could be that bad. Anyway, so I really enjoyed it. Again, I talked about it before, but I didn't talk about it too much, and I still won't because you haven't seen it.
I will.
No, that's fine. It's fine. No judgment. No judgment. But the characters are all really, really good. I did say that the storyline was a little overstuffed. That was my one criticism of it. But I don't think I noticed during it because I was just having so much fun. So it was only upon reflection that even really came to light for me. So yeah, Beetlejuice, very good. Go check it out.
Very, very nice. I will talk about my penultimate pick is a movie I did see in the cinemas this year, outside of the spooky season, but in the peak season of the Melbourne International Film Festival. And it's definitely a movie that has stayed with me for a lot of this year, and so much so that I very quickly went and bought a Blu-ray. This is Lake Mungo.
Well, your penultimate film is my ultimate film.
Oh, okay.
Lake Mungo is the final one on my list, so we can just have a good chat about it.
Such a good movie. It's
so good.
Incredible. Like, I think the first thing that I talked to you about when I watched this, because it's a very simple sell. It's a mockumentary about a girl that dies in a lake, and then the family are trying to work out sort of what's happened afterwards, and potentially there's some supernatural elements. But just how immersive this film is. This is one of the most real films I've ever seen.
Just real people, not like well-established actors or anything like that. Makes the interviews in the documentary feel very, very grounded and realistic. The fact that there's a supernatural element in the film, but throughout the documentary they find ways of justifying the supernatural element so that you go, oh, okay, it was just that, so this could have happened.
Yeah.
Very, very cool, but still providing elements of mysteries that remain unsolved. All of that, to me, feels like a real documentary that could happen.
Yeah.
It also feels a bit urban legendy, where you hear stories and there actually is no explanation for it, and you're like, that is eerie, because like I couldn't possibly think of a way for that. Yeah.
You do try to like unpack it, and it's just like, and it's almost like the film's doing it for you, and they're like trying to sort of poke holes in it and stuff, and it just sort of doesn't. And it's, very, very creepy. There's obviously like one jump scare really only in the whole film. Can confirm that in the theaters when I did watch it, it was a very audible reaction from all cinema goers.
It's a weird jump scare too, because it's like you do see it coming, but it still gets you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a slow move into something.
And then it's like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's like when you see a sequence where it's like something standing in the background and you haven't noticed that something is standing in the background. You're just watching the image and then like you notice it and it's like, it's kind of like that. It zooms in on the thing that's the jump scare and you're like, okay, well, we're getting closer and closer to this thing. And you're like, wait, what is that? Oh my God.
It's still scary.
Yeah.
And it gets you. It gets you. But yeah, just in terms of like, I think like, how immersive the film is, how tense the atmosphere that it places you in. I think it's just a brilliant film. I think this is like generally like a masterpiece of filmmaking. I think it's a landmark Australian film, and one that when I talk about, I like having movies that I like recommending people that I don't think they've seen before.
Yes.
This is now in this conversation where it's just like, particularly for friends who like a scarier film. If you're looking for a film around Halloween, or just, for, like me, if you like watching horror movies any other day, I will be recommending you Lake Mungo.
Your final film, which I feel is a bit of a cop-out. That's like me putting Scream in my final film.
I did have Scream on the list at one stage.
Yeah.
we don't talk about Scream at all.
Nah.
But to be fair,
It's gonna be a Scream, baby.
To be fair, I don't talk about this franchise that much on the podcast.
True, just to me.
Just to you. So this is going to be boring for you, but fun for the listeners. But it's the original Child's Play from 1988. And Child's Play 2 is my favourite. I think it's my favourite horror movie of all time, which for some people might be like, what? But it's really funny, like looking at sort of what the Chucky franchise has become, and then going back and watching this first film and how grounded it is, how, again, talking about another horror franchise that starts out quite mean and then gets funnier progressively.
Yeah. It's wild. Some of the sequels, like Bride of and Seed of.
Don't talk about Seed. That's that film. But this film is just incredible. I think it was one of my favorite openings for a horror movie. Like the shootout between Charles Lee Ray. Brad Dourif is just like such a good actor in everything I think he does. And like obviously he's so well known for his vocal performance as Chucky, but what he gives as Charles, I think, before he does the transference is incredible. I love just the creepy opening into the toy store and the title opening when they smash cut to just all the boxes on the wall, I think is great. The whole voodoo ceremony and the toy store exploding. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my God,
I just have a great time with the opening of this movie. And
It's very good.
And how cool Chicago looks as well. I love the Barclays apartment building with the really intricate staircases and the elevators and everything, and what that can do for cinematography later in the film, I think is great. All the characters, Alex Vincent is like, kid actors get a bad rap a lot of the time. He's great, straight from the off, and I love the fact that he's continued to play this character into adulthood. I think is remarkable how much he loves this character, but he's just He's just a really adorable kid in the first movie.
Really good.
Very innocent, but you believe him, and he really sells things when people aren't believing that, basically he's being framed by his own doll.
Yeah.
And how panicked he is about that. Just all the characters are fire. I forgot to write down casting for this, which is going to annoy me, but Andy's mum is great.
Mum from Seventh Heaven.
Yeah.
Seventh Heaven.
Chris Sarandon. Thanks. Oh, indeed. Chris Sarandon as the director, as the director. Chris Sarandon as the detective, I think, is really good as well.
Yep.
You got Eddie Caputo, and when the house blows up there, and
I think you might like this film, guys.
Yeah, I love Child's Play. I communicate all the time on how important horror movies are for me and how important Halloween is for me. So I feel like I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't finish my 5 favorites of Halloween with talking about a film in my favorite film franchise.
Totally fair. Well done, mate.
Thanks.
That brings us to the end of the spooky season of podding. By the time this releases, if you're curious, on my channel there will be a house walkthrough from Halloween of all the decorations. So for anyone keeping track, there was a Harry Potter smash release one last year that was Halloween mixed with Christmas. This year it's a vampire theme, so there'll be some walkthroughs of that with some cool sound bites and stuff from some vampire themed cinema.
Gets a few solicitors walking through there.
That's it. Oh mate, I got a Bram Stoker's poster in the bathroom.
Yes.
It's sick. So good. Maddie got it for me because of the running joke.
Love it.
Really, really good. So if you want to check that out, it will be on my channel. Also, while you're there, check out the other pods. This is our 4th video pod in a row.
It's solid.
I'm saying it now. We're going back to audio next week, but if you have been enjoying the video pods, please let us know, because we do it for you guys. So if you want more of that stuff, if you want something specific in terms of what we're talking about in future weeks, make sure you let us know, and subscribe to the channel too to stay up to date. As we get to the end of the year, we're going to probably do some Christmas themed stuff.
Looking forward to it.
But even over the break, I might release some other videos. I haven't even mentioned this to you, but I've been toying with some kind of catch-up video things where maybe we could do a couple. I got a couple of friends who are curious about doing something too, and picking some topics to do some debates about on
Sign
video.
me up.
And over the Christmas season, I was thinking I could call them spirited debates.
I love it.
Yeah. Is Die Hard really a Christmas movie?
Yes.
Well, I guess I won't debate with you about that one, because
That's
I
easy.
also think yes. The end. But yeah, make sure you stay up to date with all of that, guys. On that note, we're going to banana split.
Good.
One more Scooby laugh for the road.
Ra-cha-cha-cha.
Nice. Oh my God, put those guns away. Thanks very much, guys, and catch you at the next Film Club.